Hey guys, now let's start binding the messages which you have received for the chat room ID which we created now. So it's already subscribed here, but that's not the way we are going to use it. We need to actually send it through the output to the table view. So we already have the table view in place. Now whatever we need is to define the cells, like the left and right cells, on which these messages are going to get received. So that's what we are going to do right now. So let's start by defining the cells needed. So I'm going to create a group called cell, and then bring those cells inside. New cell. So the UI, it's going to be UI table view cell. And I'm going to call them as text message right and text message left cell. So there are going to be more cells like image view cell, even for if it is contact sharing or location sharing. Those are also different kinds of cells. So we are going to start with the basic cells for text message right now. So I'm going to call it text message right cell and left cell. So it's going to have its own XIBs. This is first thing is the right cell. It's going to be inside the chat room messaging itself. Also, let's create the other one, like both of them will work together. Chat room left cell. So it's going to be a text message left cell. Create the XIVs. Messaging, yeah, that's fine. So let's start with the easier one first, the right cell, because we don't need a profile image there, because it's going to be like it's going to just show the timestamp and message which is received. So the right one, I'm going to say I'm going to add what's the height and width I have added. I'm going to copy whatever is there already. 76 is the height, I guess. Keep it 76, maybe 80 even. That's not a worry. 80. I'm gonna bring. It's going to have a bubble view and the timestamp side. So I'm gonna bring everything over here. A bubble view, a timestamp, and within that bubble view we have a label. So just bringing that happened. Let me go to the content view, add it there. Yeah, so that's my right side part where I have the timestamp. I think once I have everything in place, it's gonna order itself properly. Top space to container, yeah, see, and this should be left leading. It's going to be the trailing space. Everything is in place right now. I just need to add the right kind of 10. But what is the ideal one I have added is 10 and 10, I guess. Yeah, so this should also be 10. And then a bottom one for this. Bottom space to container, and that's going to be 5. So that's my right side cell. Maybe I can keep it to, I think it's going to take the sizing automatic sizing is what going to work. And this label needs to have lines equal to 0, otherwise it's not going to be auto sizing label cell. Also some constraints which I have set is, if you can see, there is a height constraint which is like greater than 30. So I'm keeping a minimum 30 size, and it can expand more than that. So it's 30, greater than 30 is that what I have kept. And some other constraints are there, like left and right. So this is having a leading space to this like 14. This is more like a bubble view, so you can actually style it accordingly. Like you can add borders, radius and all, and make it look better. Even if you don't want a border radius at the bottom or a top or somewhere, you can even include that. So this is my cell. I think I also need to have a greater than or equal to from this side, otherwise it's going to just go on forever on this side. So I need to have a leading space which is going to be greater than 20, so maybe 10. So I'm limiting it like as soon as it reaches here, if it is greater than 20, less than 20, it's going to go to the next line. So otherwise it's just going to go until here and then stop it. So these are the 4 constraints I need. Left, right. Left is anyways fixed, top and bottom is fixed. Right is left side is what is greater than 20, so it can start from here, and if it is 10, then it's going to go to the next line even before it's 20. So this is my right side layout. Now let me define the left. I mean, we need to also include it within our the outlets we need to define. So what are the outlets? Gonna keep it the same names. Message label, bubble view, and so this is going to be the bubble view, and inside that we have the message label, and then you have the timestamp label. Three, that's it. So that's my right side, which is more like the simplified version. So now let me define the left side as well. So left is going to be it's just one difference, that it's going to bring in one profile image, which we might I'm not going to include that profile image today, but then once we have that uploading feature, where if I can upload my profile information, or even if I can retrieve it from somewhere, let's say if I'm logging in using a Google API or a single sign-on of something, then I should be able to use that profile image. So that's the idea why I am keeping a profile image right now. But then once we have 80, I'm going to keep it 80. Once we have the implementation in place, I can just maybe bring that in at that point. So this is my container view, content view. I'm going to include, where did I add it? Content view included. Now I'm going to include, do I have that text view is already here. I think it should be within the view. That's the reason it's not visible. Okay, that's cool. So I'm going to include this. Left, it should be 10. I think even the top side, it should be 10. 10 is what I kept for the other one. And constraints look broken just for some reason. I'm going to include all constraints. Okay, this should move closer. I think that is one reason it's not aligning. There should be a small space between these two. That's like 3, I guess. That's missing somehow. There is a horizontal spacing. I think it's missing for some reason. Let's add the right constraint, trailing space. Okay, that's the reason. As soon as I added that, so this is going to be again greater than 20 or 10 maybe. 10 is what the spacing is. So I guess top, these, something else is missing, maybe this bottom. That's also done. And this one has lost its constraints totally, so let me include that as well. That is going to be an equal spacing from left and right, like 10, and to the top it is going to be everything is 10. So maybe I can just include leading 10, trailing 10, top it's also going to be 10, it's already 10, and the bottom where can I add it? Bottom is again 10. Yeah, so it's pretty, now it's good, every constraint is in place. So if you can, again you can see it's going to be greater than or equal to 30 with a priority 750 which I have kept. So this is my left one, there is no change even here. It's going to just grow from wherever this is, and this is going to be greater than, this leading constraint is greater than 10. I think that is the same thing, even I have kept it over here. If not, I'm just going to keep it as 10 itself. It's 10. So left and right, it's going to block it 10. So left constraint, right constraint, everything is done. And this bubble is going to have a top with this one. So it's always going to be aligning towards the top of this profile and then grow from there if it is growing. So on growth, it's going to grow and move this timestamp as well to the bottom. So that's my left and right. Now let me add the outlets similar to what we did for the other one. Choose this. One is the bubble view. This is going to be the profile image view, where we are going to just set the same kind of an image for the time being. This is going to be the text label. This is called as message label. And then you have the bubble view. Why? Could not insert new outlet condition. Class. Okay, let's see. Let's add it from here. View, there's no information. Can I add it again? Bubble view. Yeah. Timestamp is missing. Let's even add that. Timestamp label. Done. So we have all the control outlets created. Now all that we need to do is to start binding. We need view models for sure. Left and right are going to have view models, and I'm going to name them as let's go to the presenter. So this view model is going to get generated using the models which we received here, like whatever models messages are models, nothing but models coming as a set, and we are going to transform that into view models. So I'm going to name this view model. So we already had the chat room title. I'm going to create a base class, because I happen to create this because we also have one feature where anyway we need it as a base class, because if we are not just going to handle just plain text message, but then we are also going to have image and even ease typing. Whenever you are typing, it's actually going to show a table view cell. So that is the reason I'm going to capture everything as a base class, base view model class, so that I can send everything as a base class model, view model itself. But then while configuring the cell, it will identify the specific type of cell and then configure itself. So that's the reason I'm going to create everything as a base class model, view model. It's going to be called base message view model, and I'm going to have a couple of properties within it called ID. It's like the messages ID itself and the chat room ID. Public var chat room ID. So two properties, and it's going to ask for an init. And within the init, string chat room ID string. I'm going to initialize self.id equal to self.id equal to ID, self.chatroom ID equal to chatroom ID. So that's my configuration for the base class. Now comes the derived ones. So we are going to start with the first derived one called the message view model. So whether it is right or left cells, it's going to be the same message view model. Public message view model is going to inherit from base view model. So I'm not going to go with a struct here, but then a base view model classes, so that I can inherit and use it. So base class inherited, I'm keeping final because I don't need to inherit from here anymore. So that's the reason. So base already has the ID and chatroom ID. So I need to define the other properties which is needed for this. So it's going to be sender, who is the sender of this specific message, and I'm going to have public var timestamp. I'm keeping within this because let's say something like an ease typing does not need a timestamp. So typing view model does not need it, so I'm just keeping it as base view model. I'm not keeping within base view model, but then I'm going to use it wherever it is needed. Like a base view model in this case is this one. Maybe I might move this message view model later to a base again for let's say rest of the things might need a timestamp, like if a normal message at that point, sender, timestamp, and are all going to be having their own base class. So that will inherit base view model, and then that in turn will be inherited over here. So let's do that once we reach that, once we cross the bridge. Timestamp and these two, I need an init again for this one, where I'm going to init this using the model, using the message, so I'm just going to use message model to init this once. So I already know self dot sender is going to be message has a sender. I'm just using that message sender. This is going to be, and it's going to ask for the super init before all this, or maybe I can even do this super dot init, ask the ID. I can pass the message dot ID and message dot chatroom. It already has a, I think it does not have a chatroom ID, so we might actually have to add a chatroom ID for our message as well, because that is something I am sending from the server. Let me verify once, because I think that's something I have added. Yes, so there is some property called chatroom I have added in my message, which I'm going to include even here. Public var chatroom ID is going to be one thing which is coming from the server. Chatroom ID, case chatroom ID, even include it here. So this is what I'm going to be using to receive, because I'm anyway going to receive it, so I can even set that. Property self dot timestamp is not initialized. Okay, so self dot timestamp is going to be, we already have some implementation for time ago since. Okay, so I'm gonna timestamp normally is going to look like this user at sent this message. So I'm going to keep it something like sender plus model already has a created, I mean this message has a created that date. I'm just going to convert that into, so I'm going to use the utility over here for that, import utility. So I'm just transforming, because view model is for representation sake, so I'm just transforming to date, convert to date, and then we already had something called as the ago since something, time since ago. So it's going to convert it into a readable format where it says this message was received from this user at sender, maybe I can even include at time, like at what time did I receive it, at this time. So sender time since ago, fix it unknown. If I don't know the date, I'm just going to keep it as unknown, maybe unknown time. Sender at this timestamp. because that's my timestamp. So everything is compiling basic stuff, but then whatever I need is now to show the message. I have not received the message. So for message, it's already coming back through something called as in the model. If you go back, message is coming through something called as a content, which is a string, and I need to capture the content now. Like the view models can be different kind. It can be a normal text message, it can be a file, it can be can be a mess, even an image, a video, audio, anything. So I'm gonna keep a property called, first thing, I need to actually handle whether it is incoming or outgoing message. So for that, I'm gonna keep a enum called message side, and that's going to be a string type of message where I'm just going to say left for the left bubble and case of right for the right bubble. So it's more like where is the message received, on the left side or the right side. That we can identify based on the sender. If the logged in user is the sender, then that means I am sending. If I'm getting this, if the sender received is somebody else, then that means I am receiving a message. That's how I will identify who's the sender. So I'm going to include this as a property within my view model called public. I don't need this public because anyway it's not going to be exposed anywhere else. Keep it as var message side, going to be the message side video which we defined right now. So how do we identify what is the message side? By default, I'm just going to keep it as always the sender. So for that, I'm just going to add message side as a parameter over here. So message side is going to be, by default, it's going to be right, means the sending. It's always the sending message. But how do I identify whether I have received or I have sent it or received it? Also, one other thing is I don't need to show like under the timestamp. Here we are saying, if you see, look at it, I'm saying timestamp is sender at. So if it's myself who is sending, I don't need to show my name. Instead, I can just say me sending it. So how do I do that? So for that, I'm going to define a variable called sender, and I'm just going to say if message dot if message side is not okay. I defined it over here. I should have defined this. Message side should be here, not in the base view model, but over the, because I do for base I don't need to define left or right. That's going, maybe that can happen at a later point when I define those for base class for these ones. So message side, if I arrive, what is the message side which is received, I can check whether if it is left means it's another sender. So I can always say sender is going to be model dot sender. Model in the sense, in this case it's going to be message dot sender, and because this is an optional, I'm just going to say, anyway I'm not expecting a value with something coming back without a value, so I'm just keeping it as sender empty. Or if it is right side, that's me, so I can always say me. So it's always me, the value equal to. Left is this and right is me. Fix. And now I need to, these are all public, I can rename. super init property self dot message side is not initialized. So we might have to initialize it with something. Okay, because we received it, we did not set the value. So I can always say sender timestamp is set, message sender side. Do we have a message side? It's going to be the message side which we received. So now it should not give a error. KNOWN unknown. So to an extent this is done, but then still we have not received the content which we need to set. All of this is fine, but then where is that content? So we need a property to set the content. So I'm going to create something called as an enum for even that. Enum message content. What is the content that I'm going to receive? It can be, right now I'm going to define text message string. So this can even like extend at a later point, where if I receive a file, it is going to have a URL or something like this. Or if I have a location, maybe it will have the coordinates lat and long, something like this. So but I'm just now restricting it to just the text part. So I'm going to use this as a property like var message content, which is received message content, and now we'll have to instantiate that as well. So for that I'm just going to capture the message which is received. If let message dot content, let me say text is which is received as message dot content. If it is received, I'm gonna say self dot message content equal to the text. I'm just gonna pass it like this, text. Still it needs to be instantiated. Message content can be, so that's it. That's my message content view model, which is instantiated using all these. So I think we are in a position to actually say at least whatever is needed to show the cell we have. Like we have the sender, you receive the sender and capture him like here. Then you are deciding upon the timestamp based on whatever you receive. Even I don't think we need the sender, because we anyway whatever we are interested is the timestamp. But let's keep this because we might actually need the sender for some comparison sake. And timestamp is defined, and it's going to just show this. And then we are defining the message side, whether it is receiver or the sender. That will happen when the view model gets created. We pass this value. Text, if we are receiving message of dot content, if it has value, then we identify that as a text, and then we capture it within this content, message content, and then we are instantiating the ID and the chat room ID. So I guess that's my view model. And let's now start building the sections which needs to be there. So I'm gonna add I think we have already added Rx data sources. I'm going to say Rx data sources is already available with us. So we need to start defining the sections through the output. So the section is going to be messages, and I'm going to say driver, and we need a section list. We need to define a section before this. So let's define a section for binding. So chat room base view model is here. For consuming this, we need to create a section view model. So let's create that, because section is what does, if you have been following my earlier episodes where we are binding the table view using sections, which is animatable section model, that's how it had been happening. So I'm going to create a type alias for creating that section, message list section, and it's going to be of type animatable section model, passing an int, which is the header side. It can be, if you need a header with some string, then it has to be string, but in our case there is no string for the header, so I'm just keeping it as this one. And then the base view model, pass the base view model, which is what will be used as the item section. Now it's asking to conform to a protocol. Base view model has to conform to a protocol called identifiable type. So let's implement even that extension for the base view model. Let's create an extension, base message view model. It needs to implement the identifiable type. So implement that. Identifiable type is coming from Rx data sources, and then it also has to implement equatable, so that makes it easier. Now we need a type alias called identity is a type alias. We need to set what is the type for the message cell. So that's going to be of type string, and we have to actually point to the ID of this. ID is the unique identifier for our cell. So I'm going to return the ID of the cell, which is this, which is the message ID, which is the identifier for this cell. So I pass that. Now also, because we have the equatable also implemented, let's create a function for equatable called equals. It should be a static function, and we need to point to the LHS message view model, base message view model, and RHS base message view model, boolean returned. I can say LHS dot ID equals RHS dot ID is going to be unique, so I'm just going to say that. So return. Even we can compare with chatroom ID, there is no issue there. ID equals, so even we can include something like LHS dot chatroom ID is also unique, equals RHS dot chatroom ID. So this is my identifier. So because identifier is available, identifier type is being implemented, now my message list section is a valid one, which can be used with my Rx data sources. Now I'm going to create an extension to this so that I can instantiate message list section. It's going to have an init where I'm going to pass the items array of item. Item is nothing but base message view model, self.init. It's going to have its own constructors like model I need to pass, and items, which is the item, which is the view model. This is how you instantiate your section. So this is a basic structure which they have, where you need to pass the init and the base. What is the base view model which is required, which will be internally implementing within the item, identifiable, these things. Animatable section requires all these implementations. So init using, so message list section init is happening using this one. So internally this is my section view model. So it accepts the model and the items. So this is that init. So it's instantiated using this. I'm just passing because I don't have any I'm going to only have one section. That's the reason I'm just having this. Also, I'm just going to use this to create an array of sections. I'm going to create one more function called, I'm just going to create all the sections by passing using items. I'm creating sections using items. It's an array of items. It's nothing but whatever I'm having here, I'm going to use that. So finally it's going to create me an array of sections. This is what is going to go to the as an output through the presenter. So all that I will do is I'm going to call return an array of message list section, because message list section we already have this one, because we are just going to have one array, one section, and all of the items coming within that section. So that's how we are going to design it. I am creating a sections because let's say you have n number of section, each one having its own headers and all, then this will not work. You might have to create a section, add its corresponding items with under it, and then do that. But then right now we are just going to have one section for all of the items. That's why I'm just creating one array, and then creating one section and all of that items coming under this one. So I guess this is also done. We have the sections also ready, and this now we were trying to create sections over here, which needs to be passed to the view controller. It's going to ask for a chat room list section, sections, chat room section. What is that we created? Message section, list section, I guess. Yeah, message list section is my sections which I need to pass, which is now easier right now because I already have included all the functions needed there. Now this is going to be the sections, and driver, I'm going to keep that as empty right now, because once we have the implementation, whatever is here, I'm going to move it, because this is not where the subscription has to happen. It has to happen through this. This is my messages, which is going to get transformed to the messages list section. So I'm going to call it as messages, or maybe even sections equals, this is what I'm going to pass. So I'm going to transform these things. Like I have the messages, it's a long code. Messages, I'm going to get the profile as well. So I'm going to say with latest from. I don't have a profile information here. I don't have. So even let me also include profile information, because that is what will be needed to get my left and right decision. If I don't have it, I won't be able to decide which messages are left and which message is right. So let's bring in that one first. Use cases. Go to the use cases. Okay, it's giving a lot of error. I'm going to combine this one for the time being, and I'm going to pass the, I don't have the account interactor. I'm going to bring that account interactor use case factory dot account interactor. Then I can pass the profile account interactor dot I think user. Yeah, user is what the profile is. I'm gonna do a filter and map on it so that I don't pass something which does not exist. $0 is not equal to nil, and then map $0, force cast it. Yeah, it should be fine. Now I have the profile available, so I can go back here and comment this one, and then I'm going to consume that use cases dot output dot profile. So this will be used now to compare between messages, whether it is incoming or outgoing. So I'm going to map now. Dot map. Before map, I need to get the sorted messages and the profiles email. That's the two things I need. So before mapping, I'm going to say messages, which is going to be the $0 part dot. I need it sorted. So $0s, or maybe even I can, yeah, $0 dot $0 is messages. I can just add a sort on it. I don't think I have a sorter already there. Use case cannot be, oh, I have not passed use cases here, so I need to also pass use cases. No, it's already there. Let use cases equals to dependencies dot use cases. So now use case is there. Now this set does not have I think let me check, by greater than contextual. This needs an implementation. Let's do that. So let's go to my message. It needs the set implementation like we had done. Comparable, we can extend this one again. Extension message implements comparable, and I can have those similar to this. It's a very simple thing, like you have the greater than for this one, so it's going to be greater, not on this one. Comparison is going to be on the date, so we might have to just modify this. Utility is already there, yeah, so I just have to do first thing dot created at date is what I look at, convert to date, and then I would say greater than, even here created at dot convert to date, plus I also, if this date is not existing, I might just use the current date or the date and then compare it. Also it needs the second implementation, less than as well, so less than and greater than, so same thing, but then I just need to keep the less than part here. So now it will allow you to sort based on this timestamp. This is implemented. Let's go back. So messages greater than is fine now. It's allowing me to do that. And next thing is profile is email. I need the email of the profile, so I'm going to do a $1.email. So now everything is fine. So I have the messages and the email available. I'm going to use to compare between the message. I'm going to do a map now. Map, I have the messages and email, the sorted array of messages with me right now, which I'll be passing to create the view model. So that's ready. Sections to a great extent, it's almost complete, not wholly complete, but then I need to now convert that messages to a compact map view model. I'm gonna say messages dot compact map. I'm going to transform this whole array into a view model, which is message. I can call it as this type is going to be message view model, which is inheriting from base message view model, and I can just pass using message. The message is nothing but $0, but that's not just the end of it, because message view model can also accept this side, because if I don't pass this, then it's always going to give keep every message on the right side. So I might also need the second parameter, which is the message side. So message side decision is going to be based on two things. I'm just going to say email which is received. I'm going to take the lowercase of it, and I'm just going to compare with the $0 sender dot lowercase. So if I compare it, and if I see both of them be together, if both of them are the same, then I'm gonna say it's something for the right. This message is for the right, else it is for the left, means somebody else has sent it. If both are the same, that means it's my own message. I need to show it on the right side, if not on the left side. So this messages.compact map is now has created an array of message view model for me. Now I can just pass this again, map it, and then I can just say already have the message list section has a function called build, I guess. Section, I have the section function. Is it? I think I have kept it as this. It should be a static function, so that I can pass section using item. So where is that error right now? Go back. Dot section, yeah, section using base view models array, which is actually this one. I can just pass $0. That will convert that into an array of section. Now all that I need to do is to drive it back as driver. If there is an error, just return a never. I guess that should be enough. All that I now need to do is to try and replace this with sections. So it's pretty simple code, the messages which is received is transformed into the left and right message view models, so that the layout can decide where it needs to display. And then I'm passing it to the list section, which is more like the data source for Rx data sources, and then creating that section out of it. Pretty simple logic. Section is passed now. Now the table view has to receive it. The view model creation part is done wholly. Like this is the table view models. Hope this is going to get rendered at the other end. So we already have the table view. Now we need to have a binding over it here. So first binding is presenter is already sending through the output the sections, right? So I can just say drive table view dot rx dot items. I just need to pass something over here, a source, a data source. So that we have to define right now. So let's keep this commented, and then let's create that data source over here at the top. So I'm gonna go here, private lazy var, gonna call it data source equals, it's going to be rx. I think I have not included. Okay, let's include that. Import rx data sources. It's going to use rx data sources, and I can just say rx table view section animated data source or reload data source. Anything can work. I'm going to use it in it, reload data source, and pass the message list section, which is the data source data consuming part. So this is actually giving me a configure function. I'm going to add it, configure cell with these things: the section, table view, index path, and the section dot item. Section dot item is nothing but the table view, the view model which we defined. So I'm going to use the three of them: table view, index path. So this is nothing but your regular configure cell for configure, whatever configure you do with your regular approach in table view. Okay, I was right in, and this has to be before this. Now it needs to return a table view cell. Why table view cell for it to work? So now the issue is resolved. Now this is what will become the data source for whatever I was trying to implement here. Presenter dot output dot section dot drive using table view dot rx dot items, source being data source. So I just need to pass the data source over here, and then I can do the same drive. It's already a drive. I can just dispose it. So data source binding is done. Now we need to configure the cells. So you can always relate it to the regular approach, because this is just the Rx way, but then it's cell for row 8 index. Yeah, cell for row 8 index is what is happening within this one, configure cell. That's a cell for row 8 index. This is where we create the cells using the view models. Item is a view model. I can maybe rename it to view model, which is actually the message view model or base message view model. I can maybe keep it as base view model. So that's just the item. Table view, index path. These are the things we need. And let's start configuring. So first thing, because we will be passing weak self, so first thing itself that we can check is guard let self guard let self equal to self, else return an empty cell. It's ideally you should be throwing a fatal error or something, but I'm just returning over here. If not, we can start configuring. Like I have the view model. Let view model is I need to upcast it, because this is going to identify my view model as a base view model, base message view model. But if I need to configure it as a text message view model, then I need to see whether this view model is a message view model, because whatever we are passing as a data source is a base view model. Like the config, whatever we are adding to the message list section, we are pointing to a base view model. Like the item which we defined. Where did we define it? Okay, it is a base view model. So everything is not this one, but so message list section identifies a base message view model, but not a message view model. So we might have to upcast it over here, whatever item we are getting, upcast it and see whether it is a message view model. If it is a message view model, we need to send it for configuring it as a what do you call it, as a cell, the message cell, text message cell. So now it is identified as a view model. Now we can get the value of inside, and we can say if case is text, we have defined already, like what is the message content. Message content we already defined, it's going to be message content text. So I'm just trying to get that value from inside message content text. What is that message which I have? Let message, which needs to be used to show that content. And now I can two cases can happen. It can be related to the left message or right message. So I also need to check message content is received, but I also need to check whether it is right or left. So I'll just say if view model dot message side is going to be right, I'll configure the right cell. If not, I'll configure the left cell. So configure the right side text cell, or else I'll say configure left side text cell if this is not the case. So this case is happening now. Guard let cell equal to, I need to dequeue that cell right now. TableView dot dequeue reusable cell. There is no difference in this approach with identifier. So I know it's going to be string describing, it's going to be the text message. This is the right cell dot self. I'm just going to use that and then pass the index path. So this has dequeued my cell. I'm just going to say return guard else. I'm going to return empty. It's going to be the same everywhere, right? Cell is received guard let. For this, for conditional binding must be an optional type. Okay, I need to tell this as text view self this. If not, it's going to be the other one. Guard let it's going to be the right, the left cell. Left cell. Configure that cell. And I can just return this cell after the after checking this cell, or if not cell, return cell. So within the scope, but then I need to now configure these things. I have these cells ready. I need to also register those cells. I'm just going to grab the registration part simply because I know everyone knows this code. It's simple. So within setup UI, I have this. So it's going to be left cell or right cell. I'm just registering by calling the setup UI is going to register this, passing the nib, registering those cells, text view cell, right and left. That's done. So registration is complete. Configuration should give me that loading those cells right now. Now I need to have the configure functions within left and right. So let's define those two functions. For the right one, let's define a configure function. Configure using view model. It's going to be the text message view model. and I am going to have even the same thing for the left and right configure. Now I have the configure function. All that I need to do now is to call these from the view controller itself. Where did I go? View controller. Once a cell is received, cell.configure is available now. Configure using view model. I have the view model available. Configuring that. Even that step is over. We are very much closer to showing that information. I mean, the messages on the left and right. Let's hope it gets over in a bit. So now let me add the configure things within the cell. Cell left is going to have it's pretty simple. I think all that we need to do is to what do we have? We just have 2-3 things to show. First is to capture the view model for later use. Let's do that. So I'm gonna use a variable to capture this, private var capturing, and then I'm going to say self.viewModel equals to view model. That's captured. Next step is to actually get that text value from it. If case dot text let message equals the view model has the content message content. If I have it, then I use the message label dot text to this, set this. That's also done. Now next is the timestamp. We already have manipulated that in the view model itself. All that we need now to do is to get the timestamp value set. That's it. And also the profile image might not be set properly, so let's also do that. This is the left one, so this is the right one. It does not have a profile image. You can ignore that. And for the right one as well, it's the same case. Go to the right configuration, just copy paste whatever you have here. Additionally, view model, and we also need a property to capture this, private var view model. Yeah. Additionally, we are going to do something more where we are going to say the self dot or the profile image view dot image is going to be UI image named, I'm just going to say IC male as the profile image. So configuration is also done. These things are done. One more thing which I have added is to have a view extension, UI view extension, I guess. So maybe I'll just include something which I already have. I'm just going to keep that as extension. It's just nothing but it's just rounding logic, round bottom, round chat bubble left, round chat bubble right, and all that. So based on my scenario, if it is a left bubble, I might just round it on the left side. If it is right bubble, I might do it for the right side. I'm going to just say I already have the bubble view. This is my left cell, so I can just say around I think I need to compile it once. Round chat bubble left. I mean, not this one, self.bubble view. Round chat bubble left. So you can do your chat bubble rounding based on which side it is. And this is going to be for the right one. Round chat bubble right. That's it. I guess anything missing? I guess this is enough to actually load. Go to the view controller and check, reference it once. I guess we are receiving the view to the presenter. We are receiving all the chat rooms through this sections. Again, I'm at the wrong place. Go to the messaging, chat room messaging presenter. Use cases. I'm getting the messages, transforming that into the message view models, and then passing to the sections to create, and then sending it for binding, which is happening within my message view model, where there is a configure data source function which I am passing to the binding side, where sections is identified and it's bound with the table views item data source. I guess you should actually now load our messages. Let's see. I go here. Yeah, things which we still need to do is like it's not going to the last message. That also we need a fix, because it's at the top right now. It should actually go to the bottom. So let's fix that as well. For that, I need to add an event at the bottom once the configuration is complete. I'm gonna say, let me go to the presenter. I'm gonna add a state object called scroll to bottom. I'm gonna type alias and create a state. Let me create that, type alias, calling it state, and that's going to have something called as scroll to bottom driver. It's nothing but a plain void driver. That's my state driver. It can be a behavior relay, because okay, this has to be a behavior relay, because this is just an instantiation. Whatever we send will be a driver. Behavior, because we need to replay it whenever there is a change happening, or at least whenever we are launching, it needs to have that last value being sent. So I'm also going to create a private let state, which is going to be of this type state, and instantiate that using this scroll to bottom, going to be a behavior relay instantiated, passing a void value. So initially it's going to be firing at least once, and then that value will remain, and then instantiate that. So now my state is available. All that I need to now do is to pass this state to my output. This is more like the state handling, where I have created something over here. So I'm going to listen to this as soon as this configuration is complete. The last mapping is complete. And there is one more thing which I could have done, like if there is an error over here as driver, if there is an error, I can always return an empty array here. So that's one change. Okay, that's perfect. Plus I'm also going to do a what should happen on next. I don't want any value over here. All that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pass that state which I captured here, and then I'm gonna say state dot scroll to bottom dot accept. So once this is complete, I'm just saying now you scroll to bottom, because the view model has sent this value. And now I also need to pass this through the presenter's output so that I can bind it. So go to my presenter output, just saying scroll to bottom, it's a driver passing a void signal. So I can associate that over here. Okay, it's asking me to include the state, self.state. That's done. And here scroll to bottom, which is going to be the same state dot scroll to bottom, is going to get converted as a driver, nothing more. It's driver, that's it. So now I can actually bind that within my view controller. So go here, I have the setup bindings. I can just say self dot presenter dot output as the scroll to bottom right now. Also refer whatever I have done. I have added some I'm just going to say scroll to bottom, and then I have added a utility function. This is a normal way where you do a scroll to bottom. I'm going to create an extension. This is one way of doing it, where even if it is like the regular way, you scroll to bottom after finding which is the section you are on and what is the last message within that section. You just say scroll to that row. That is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to create a function for that. Function, this is going to be a private function, private message function, going to be scroll to last, and nothing to return. It's just that it's going to get dispatched in the main thread. Okay, switch dispatch after maybe I'll take a 5 microseconds to this 5 microseconds takes a small delay, so that it gets that enough time to actually scroll to the bottom after the view model is configured, at least has received those values. So I'm going to say data source and table view are the two params which I'm going to pass to this, and I'm going to capture the number of rows. It's going to be from the data source section models, because I only have one section. I'm just going to say what is the count of all those number of rows in that, because I only have one. Okay, it was this one thing was missing, and get the last index, which is going to be index path row. Number of rows we already captured, number of rows, and section is always going to be only one, which is 0. So now last row is going to be the last index is going to be the number of rows minus 1. That's going to be the last row, and I'm getting that value, and I'm checking if the last index dot row is not equal to -1, like invalid value. If it is not, then I'm gonna scroll to that last row, scroll to row, passing the last index at to the bottom. Animated, maybe false. No, I don't want to see that scrolling happening. So that's my function. So all that I'm going to do is to map, and this just call this function scroll to last. And then I can just have the drive dispose by bag. I guess this should do that magic required. Let's see. Table view. Why is it giving me an error? Not error. Okay, that's fine. Now it's being used. So it should scroll to last now, because this signal is already combined over here. Presenter. As soon as the sections creation is complete, it does an on next where it says now you scroll to bottom, because the configuration is gonna get complete. We add a slight delay over here, 5 seconds, because it needs that time to scroll. Otherwise it will not get that enough time. Maybe. Yeah, let's run. I'm going to go to that. It's already at the bottom, so that's magic is done. Even here it's at the last. Now is the time where we need to integrate. It's already sent, but it's sent. You can see it's sent, but it's clearing as well. That logic is there, but it's not sent anywhere. Its subscription is there, but we have not yet associated it with the signal to send to the server, and in turn that server sends us a callback through the WebSocket to reconfigure everything. So that's going to happen next, because we are pretty much closer to the things implementation. Like 2 days ago was the last message. I think last message 2 days ago. Why is it changing? I think last message was sent. Everything is 2 days ago. That is when I tested it, I guess. So that is coming up soon. Like this one, where we are going to start sending these messages. Plus then after that we have the ease typing thing pending. After that, at least the episode for this week is complete. All the episodes for this week will be complete, and then we have some more things to take care. So these things are coming up soon, the sending part and then ease typing. So stay tuned for that.